Hi there. Today I thought I'd revisit something I looked at some 5-6 years ago but didn't pursue it in any meaningful way, and that is the idea of making a book. Whenever you look at the grid, you'll see that's the current book price of based on all the odds that we have at the moment. And if we get that below 100% and everything is matched, we can effectively make our own book, back everything and make a profit. And that's easily to see via the Dutching dialog. So if I choose, let me just choose live odds there, select all, you'll see when everything's selected at the current book value, you can't make a profit. But you can put in a global offset, so that's just one tick. So if I ask for one tick higher on all of these runners, the book value is below 100, so I'm guaranteed a profit as long as every one of those bets is matched. However, staking £100 and only to make £1, it's hardly worth the effort really, in my opinion. Although having said that, doing this pre-race might be useful. However, me being greedy, I wanted to look at doing it in running where the market is that much more volatile and one might expect higher odds to be matched. Indeed, you're guaranteed at least all of them bar one runner to match at higher prices simply because they don't win the race. So what I was looking at is perhaps being a little greedy and choosing 10 ticks. So you'll see in the case of this particular race, you're looking at a potential profit of around £27, £28. And that's what piqued my interest. The trouble is that doing this in those days, 5-6 years ago, it meant me sitting in front of the computer, race after race, setting it up and essentially recording the results. Now, yes, I could have downloaded the historical price data and compared the SPs with the maximum in running price, but that would have involved me doing a bit of coding, a bit of programming, and even though I have a postgrad in software engineering, those days have long since passed, and I can't think of anything worse than sitting down coding for hours on end. So I abandoned the idea. However, now, unlike then, Fairbot has automation facilities and I can utilise that to do some of the data gathering. So that's what we're going to look at in this video. Now with the strategy editor open, you'll see I've created a blank demo, IR bookmaking. And we really only need one rule for this to actually work. So let's just set up this rule, make book in running. You want to actually place the Dutch just before the off, so let's set that to relative to event start time. The action is going to be a Dutch, a back Dutch, the stake, let's use the usual £100, obviously adjust that to suit your personal requirements. The sort order doesn't really matter because we're going to be choosing all selections, but we do need to specify to do so at the best back odds. So let's just be greedy and specify 10 ticks. Now again, that's something that you might want to play with. Obviously the lower that number, the greater the chance of all bets being matched. The greater that number, you increase the risk of one of the runners, the winner, not drifting far enough to have his share of that Dutch taken. And since we're going to be having these matched in running, we need to make sure we have the keep option switched on. You may also want to specify conditions. For example, if you have a race where the outsider is very high in odds, such that the additional 10 ticks will take him over the 1000 point, the Dutch will probably fail to be taken. So you might want to just put that restriction in there. So just choose selection fixed odds. Make sure it is set to buy position back odds, and then choose as descending. So what you'll do is end up choosing the outsider, and just make sure that they are less than a certain figure. So if we're going for 10 ticks, you might want to set this to less than or equal to 900. Obviously you would need to adjust this if you're adjusting the number of ticks that you're looking for. So all this is going to do is just make sure that essentially the Dutch isn't going to fail in its submission process. Similarly, you may actually want to put a minimum value for the favourite. So again, do a selection fixed odds, and I'll go in momentarily once I've saved this to let you see why. So we want the best back odds, position 1 ascending, so that's the favourite. We want that to, let's say, be bigger than 2.5. Okay, let me just save that for the moment. And if I switch to the My Bets and bring up the Dutching tool to let you see. So in this race you can see it's fairly well balanced, and if I choose select all and set that to 10, you'll see we're getting a profit of around about 26, assuming everything's matched. If however I switch to another race where there's a short price favourite, so the first one this afternoon, we have this one here. If I do the same again, select all and set that to 10, you'll see because of that short price favourite, most of my £100 stake is going on that short price favourite, so that will drag down the profit. So you may not want to bother getting involved in such a race. The benefit with that, however, is keep in mind that the risk is one of the runners will not drift enough. Now one might assume, given the short price favourite, it's likely to be this runner that's not going to drift 10 ticks to get matched. The thing is, if he doesn't drift 10 ticks to get matched and he goes on to win, this stake here isn't taken. In other words, you're not risking your full 100, you're risking the total of that lot there, which is what, £19, near enough. So you're risking £19 to win 11. Whereas on the other race, this one here, if I quickly switch back to the Dutching dialog once again, select all and choose, set that to 10. What you're doing in this case, if the shortest priced runner goes on to win without drifting, in this case you're risking, what you're risking, 66 to win 26. Okay, so although, as I say, you're risking £100, that's not the full risk you're taking on when you're using this. Anyway, that's an aside, I digress a little bit. Let me just go back to the strategy editor again. So you might want those restrictions in there. Ultimately, you might want other restrictions in there that limit the type of race and distance and so on, but that's something that you would need to gather data for. Intuitively, one might think that the best type of race that this will work on is sprints, one might assume, but it's a case of testing it and see. But that essentially is all you need. So just assign that to a number of races, test it and see how it goes. So I'm a couple of hours or so away from the racing just yet for today. I'll leave it there and come back to those races when they come along. As you can see, whilst waiting for the racing to come along, I've enhanced the automation just with my usual audio messages and so on and so forth. So we're having a look at this 2.5 mile race. the bets should be going in shortly. They're already at the post, so once this ticks past the event start time by 5 seconds,
Event start time.
The Dutch should be submitted. Okay, that's the Dutch going in. If I switch to the My Bets tab, so there's our bets waiting to be taken in play and matched 10 ticks higher than they were, just to give us an indication of what sort of profit we're looking at. £27 for this race, assuming all of those bets are matched.
This market is now in play.
So now that we're off and running, just let me run through a couple of other things that might be worth your interest. First of all, notice that at any time during the race you have the ability to green up. So you could use this mechanism as a Dutch trading mechanism, I suppose, to give you an indication of the type of profit there. You obviously just keep an eye on this button here, and that can obviously be included within the automation if you want. Have a green up rule if a particular target is hit. The other thing I thought of but never investigated all those years ago is the possibility of cancelling the outstanding bets once all bets have been taken apart from the last one. If we assume that the last one is obviously going to lose the race, you could end up with a potential for a bigger profit. It's something I didn't spend any time investigating. It was just an idea on the back burner, as it were. So as you see, we're a quarter of the way through this race at the moment, and we've still got 3 to be matched. Now you'll see that CJB has been coming down in price more or less from the off, and so has Call Me Arthur. So you might actually have to wait quite a long way into a race before every single runner is matched, assuming that they're all going to be matched, of course. There's always a situation where one just won't drift. So there's the third last one. So we've only got 2 left, and you can see the green up button there. We've been hovering around scratch or a small loss. But still quite a way to go as yet. As I say, I didn't get an opportunity to test this over a large number of races, simply because it meant I had to sit in front of the computer and do each race manually, effectively. But by implementing a little automated procedure like this, you should be able to rattle through a few races and collect the data quite readily. Assuming, of course, that you, like me, you can't be bothered downloading the actual data and writing the necessary code and so on, doing the database spreadsheet work to pull everything in from the actual data itself that already exists. So you can see now at times the green up button there is flashing into the green. So there is a possibility that you could green up at some point using this technique, and don't bother hoping that the last one gets matched. Now there's no reason that this can't be applied to any type of race, but I suspect sprints are the ones that are most likely to be the most volatile and therefore the most likely to see this particular strategy successful. So by the looks of it, we've got Call Me Arthur and CJB. Those are the 2 that shortened fairly readily at the start of the race. I don't have any commentary on them or anything, but I'm guessing that those are the ones that are pretty prominent in the race at the moment. We've obviously got CJB's got to go up to 36 before he before he matches his bet. But you can see there we were flashing greens of 10s, 16s there. And there you go, that's the last one taken, and guaranteed a profit of £25 across the board. Excellent. So that's essentially the thinking behind this particular strategy. So you might want to implement that. There's one more race to come, or the next race I should say is a 6 furlong. No, it's not. Pontefract's been postponed big time, so it's actually their 152 that's still to come, which is a 5 furlong race. I'll record that as well. Okay, this is the delayed race at Pontefract. It should have gone off 8 minutes to 2 o'clock, but it's been delayed because of ground conditions. And this is actually a reason why I have all this extra stuff in here, because it means I can allow the automation just to check so that when they're the bets won't go in until they start loading. So the loading process should be starting shortly, and the bets will be going in soon after that. Okay, they've started to load, and as you can see, the Dutch has been placed. So this one should be done and dusted fairly quickly, it being only 5 furlongs, and that'll give you an indication of what it's like over a sprint as well. So as I've said before, I haven't really tested this for any length of time, so I've no idea if this strategy is profitable long term, and no doubt you probably have to implement some sort of filtering process to identify races that are suitable or not. We've already done that by eliminating races that have short price favourites, and eliminating races that have outsiders that are sitting up at 1,000. But anyone who has the programming skills, you may actually find it quicker just to download the data files from Betfair and then set up some code that will check each race, check each runners in each race and their SPs and their corresponding maximum in-running figures. You may find it quicker doing that than using this technique, but at least this provides a mechanism for those who don't have coding skills to at least get a picture of how this works over a longer term. Because you can literally just set this up in the morning, assign it to the races, and you can just leave it for the day and let it do its thing. Okay, that's the race off and running now, so just let's keep an eye on this. Again, keep an eye on the green up button. Give you an idea if you can actually manually or indeed automatically green up at some stage during the race. What you'll generally find, I would think, in a 5 furlong race like this is things will happen fairly quickly. Indeed, we've only got 4 horses still unmatched there, but that second one from the top, Inshad, has come in and it isn't drifting just yet. Oh, just as I speak, off it goes, and we're left with Hot to Dot and Harswell Dandy. So I suspect one of those is not going to drift the 10 ticks that we were looking for. Okay, so essentially that's the basis of it. You won't lose your full stake, but obviously it depends on which runner doesn't drift. Determines the level of your liability. But yeah, give it a go. Set up an automation like that and you can let it run on your races over a few days to give you an idea of what it's all about. As I say, I have no idea if it's profitable long term. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in another one. Cheers.